Hey everybody, welcome to the Best Ball Show here with Fantasy and Frames. Guys, I'm your host Stacey Perez. We have got my girl Stephanie Miller in the house. We've got Gator J, and joining us tonight, our very special guest, the one, the only winner of Best Ball Mania 1, our Best Ball guru. We've got Justin Herzig in the house with us. He is going to be drafting. Guys, we're about to do a Best Ball Mania, and let's get to it.
That was my bad.
All right, everybody. Like I said, welcome to the Fantasy and Frames Best Ball Show. I see all of you joining in the chat over there. I see Jeffrey Godfrey over there. He is here just to boo all of our picks. We got Jason Calhoun saying hello to everybody. We got Nick Costantino. Go Bills over there. What's up, guys? Guys, we have got a great show for you tonight. Steph, Gator, Justin, how are you guys doing?
I'm good. Let's listen to what Justin's got to say. Steph first, I guess. Let the ladies speak first, but Steph, and then let Justin let's go, man. This is the original, the OG of Best Ball Mania right here. So,
yes.
I appreciate that. But Gator, I got to ask you because you might have a little of the secret sauce down here. St. Pete, Tampa, Florida area has a history of winning the BBMs, and I see some Bucks behind you, some Gators. Are you local, or how far are you from me?
I'm about 3 hours, but I went to Hillsborough High School.
Okay.
I graduated Hillsborough High School, so I am originally from Tampa. As life goes, you have to move here and there, but I am still a diehard Bucks fan. I will always be a Gator. It's like I bleed orange and blue, and then come Super Bowl, because that's how we do on the Super Bowl. We bleed gold coming out in the Super Bowl, 2-0 in the Super Bowl, and not very many teams can say 2-0.
My wife's a Gator as well, so I've got a little of that in my household. And hey, if you end up taking down BBM4, we're going to claim you for the Tampa Bay area. So just getting ahead of that.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
I'm from Clearwater originally.
We're claiming this entire show. Let's go. Stacey, Stephanie, you can be honorary as well.
No, Stacey.
I'm a Tampa girl.
That's crazy. I'm in St. Pete. Yeah, I grew up in Tampa side, and now I'm St. Pete. And yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we'll have
Prep.
You were Tampa Prep?
And Berkeley Prep.
I was Berkeley.
Oh.
No. Yeah. Dan Baldarian was in my class.
There you go. I know a lot of mutuals. My sister was Tampa Prep, and I was Berkeley Prep. Too funny. Small world. Steph and I went to the same little private high school.
That's like super small, super exclusive. So that's really funny.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for being out with us tonight. Guys, obviously, you guys know Justin. Establish the Run. You can find him at Justin Herzig right there on Twitter on your screen. Justin, tell us what you're working on right now. What have you got going on?
Yeah, streams and drafts and streams and drafts, and trying not to have the wife leave me. But things are going really well. I mean, we're just continuing to kind of pump out, focus at ETRs have kind of moved a little more towards the redraft. This is when the more casuals come in, and all these best ball streams, like a lot of the hardos, the ones like, hey, the D-gens, the ones who are watching you guys, the ones who are watching this, like they know what's up. We're kind of in cruise control mode. Now we're seeking overlay. We're trying to get unique with our takes and stuff. There's still some edge that's like specific to this time period. And then the other side of the world, Own the Moment, where it's a company that I started with some friends a few years back. We're just continuing to kind of build some fantasy football games. So different ways to continue to play. And this industry, I'm so bullish on in general, but I think it's really important that these sites, like we continue to think of how can we innovate around new games, around best ball, around other forms of fantasy football, because we've seen some big players go to the sports betting, go to the iGaming, go to iCasino. We don't want to leave the fantasy football crowd behind. So that's what we're kind of doing this side, is just like, hey, continue to find some fun, innovative ways to play fantasy football.
That is,
I think Steph's dog did not like you talking about betting. I'm just wondering if that's what the case was there.
The dog is anti-gambling.
Anti-gambling dog right there. Steph, we got to do something about that anti-gambling dog. I mean, this is a best ball show. We gamble here, right?
How to get her on our side.
You know, she has a bunch of friends in the neighborhood. Not at all, because she's a small Chihuahua and bullies everyone. So she saw somebody through the window that she's not a fan
Let 'em know.
of.
Well, guys, so I see Fantasy Football Garage over there in the chat. Guys, remember, if you have any questions for us tonight, make sure to throw them in the chat. If you want to comment on our draft picks, put them on in there as well. Casual's ruining stacks this time of draft season for sure. So many naked QBs. The bane of our existence. Well, all right, everybody, let's go ahead and get ready to jump on in there. We are going to be doing Best Ball Mania 4 tonight, like we talked about. Jump on in that draft if you want to draft with us. If you're in Underdog right now, go ahead and do that. If you just want to hang out in the chat and comment on our picks, do that too. Let's see. We are filled. We are ready to go. I'm going to throw that draft board up here. Steph, you see everybody?
I see Justin.
I got 9
Justin,
spot.
Oh, yep. I see you in the back. Yep, we got it.
What'd you guys get?
I'm at 1-3.
I see. There you are, Super Shorty.
Super Shorty is in there at 1-3. Let's shift.
That must mean that I am like way back here in the back then. Oh, look at that. The number 11.
Gotta zoom out just a little bit more right there. Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that's perfect.
Everybody on the screen before we get going. 16 seconds.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you see like a lot of names on Twitter or in Discord, and then like trying to align them with their DraftKings name or their underdog name or their drafters names, and even those kind of differ and such. And always occasionally you're like, I didn't know the connection. I've drafted with you a bunch. Okay, makes sense.
So we got 5 of the 12 badges. Ooh, spicy 1-1 right there with Cooper Kupp.
Oh,
I'm not.
okay.
Spicy.
I'm not gonna hate it.
No, I know you're not going to, because you're sitting there on the clock now, and the thought process is only Justin or Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah. Of course. I'm gonna take him when he falls to 3. I did get him in 4 too for a little while when there was so much FUD on Burrow. So I've had a couple interesting spots that I've gotten lucky.
Well, so tonight we got Steph is drafting out of the 1-3 area, or 1-3 spot. Justin is drafting out of the 1-9, and then Stacy at the 1-11 with that wrap around there. So that should be nice.
And
Justin, you're coming up on the clock here. Thought process with right now, you got Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, CMC, and Stephon Diggs. So and then Austin Eckler right behind him. So you got 5 of the first 7 picks being wide receiver. You're on the clock right now.
Yeah, I mean, 9 gets a little ugly. You definitely have like that strong tier. I would have loved an Eckler or Kelsey. Thought there was maybe a slight chance with Diggs going there, but leaves me with Bijan. The argument for Bijan, at least, is I think it's like 8 of the last 9 rookies that were drafted in the first 3 rounds of fantasy football drafts end up exceeding or surpassing their ADP value. Not easy when you're getting drafted in an ADP of like 8 to 9, but there's a lot going in Bijan's favor. I think he's a high floor. Honestly, I think like his upside is actually capped compared to like someone around Tony Pollard, but he has such a high floor because that team is just going to run so much. So it's a safe pick from the back of the draft.
Well, Stacey's back on the clock. She took Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 11th spot. She's back on, takes Chris Olave.
Yes.
The question right now that I have is Kupp ahead of Jefferson. Jason Calhoun says Kupp ahead of Jefferson and Chase is borderline criminal behavior. Quickly go around the frames. Yes or no? Stacey, is that criminal behavior?
I would have to agree that it's a borderline criminal behavior. We may have to get Drew Davenport over here to represent team number 1, Brady Viper, over there if he gets locked up over that Cooper Kupp pick.
Steph, is that borderline criminal behavior, or is it just flat out criminal behavior?
No, I think it's pretty criminal.
Justin goes with Bijan Robinson, Nick Chubb as the 16th pick off the board. Love those 2 running backs in this format.
I do not normally go running back. It's actually really rare this year going running back, but I think it's a bit of a unique combo going Bijan and Chubb. And I've got a ton of Devontae. Didn't feel that I need to. Maybe this was a decent opportunity to increase my Chubb exposure, getting him, 5 picks at past ADP, 4 picks.
Yeah. Love that idea right there. All right, Steph, what are you thinking right here at this second pick overall?
Well, I was looking originally at some of those running backs, but they all decided to go. So I am going to go ahead and, it's a pretty concentrated offense and stack up the Bengals here.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I'm going to double tap and go with Jamar Ante. And I don't know what Justin's thoughts are with taking the top 2 pass catchers, my first 2 picks, because I know some people sometimes have the argument about, can they both hit their ceilings? But I kind of feel like they don't always have to hit their ceilings at the same time, so they can help you at different times. And I mean, during, the playoffs, I think one of them is going to hit and possibly both. I mean, again, it's really a concentrated offense. So I don't hate it, but you may have different thoughts.
If we were in a weekly winners draft, I would give a little to it. But for a BBM, for this structure, I'm all supportive of it. It also allows you to probably grab Burrow. Like, you have a better chance of knowing he's going to fall to you at 46, maybe even grab him at 51, depending on whether Big Slick and Brady grab some QBs here. You're not giving up that much capital, and you're investing heavily into a highly concentrated, maybe top 3 offense. So I like it. It is very chalky. So I think usually when I do it, I just think through the rest of my draft. How can I make sure that I get a little unique, whether it's later on, whether it's with some player combinations, but everybody's got to have a certain amount of Chase and Higgins in your portfolio.
Agree.
I'm just looking at team number 2 over here. I mean, that is a sexy team. Holy cow. Jefferson, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. My goodness.
Already.
Right now. Oof.
So, I may go ahead and take Andrews.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because as we talk about, for me now, the way I'm thinking about it is a lot of people obviously want to, do the week 17 stuff. So you're going to get a lot of like Kelsey with maybe Higgins. I mean, you're not going to get Kelsey Chase because if somebody does, then we're in trouble. But this gives me a little bit of leverage off of those teams maybe. And, I think if anybody could put up the similar type points to Kelsey, it'd be Andrews. Who I just love. He's actually my highest tight end this year. So I think going those combinations could be something that gives me leverage and maybe a little uniqueness because people may not try to do that kind of pairing. We'll see.
Yes, Justin, I just want to ask you real quick, with the Zeke signing in New England, and I know you're coming up on the clock here, so I'll drag this question out as much as I can. With Zeke signing in New England, how does that affect Ramondre's ADP in the best ball, and then or how have you seen it affect his value in best ball and just in general the Zeke noise for the end zone?
Yeah, so for me, I think kind of 2 different questions there. One is like, what would I do with it? And then 2 is like, what do I expect to happen? I think that his ADP is going to continue to fall and probably end up in that kind of middle of the 4th. But what we've seen time and time again is that ADP is, while overall efficient, is slow to change. And it's a little of like, even though you get these like forces saying, no, we should wait, rankings are pushing him back, you still are like, I'm getting 4 picks of value. I'm getting X amount of picks of value. So like he still gets taken before where he actually should. So I think it's going to take a while to actually get there. And it's a difficult situation when we're drafting because it's like, I want to buy the dip on Ramondre. I want to buy the dip on Breece, but I want to buy where it's going to finish. And it's not going to get there really until the end. Breece is a little interesting because you could make an argument that the longer Dalvin doesn't come back, like Breece actually might start tinkering the other way as people are like getting more optimistic. But for Ramondre, like I think Zeke is kind of the middle of the road of what we expected to happen in New England. Like I had 90% confidence they were bringing someone in. All signs pointed to that. The question is, were they going to bring a Dalvin level? Were they going to bring a Kareem Hunt level? And I think Zeke kind of is right in that middle area. So if you were drafting Ramondre before, yes, you overpaid a little. It is what it is, but I don't think you're in like bad shape there. My larger concern with New England is they're going to play slow, and they have a very difficult schedule, and particularly difficult schedule pertaining to opponents' defenses. If you look at the other teams in that division, those are some really tough defenses. And so, like, if you're losing goal line work to Zeke, like, to be honest, it's not the biggest thing you're losing as part of your game, because I'm not expecting them to actually have that many like goal line and, you know, red zone looks for the season. If he can still be like a heavy part of the passing game, he still has substantial value, and I think we still like him. But again, I want him in like the late fourth.
And he just went in the early fourth. Let me rip through these through these first 4 rounds real quick. That way we can let the listener who is not watching know. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler, Travis Kelce, Bijan Robinson, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb go in the first round. Wrapping around, we got Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams, Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Waddle, Derrick Henry, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, wrapping up that second round. Going to the third, we had DK Metcalf, Jalen Hurts, first quarterback off the board, Mark Andrews, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, Deebo Samuel, Jahmyr Gibbs, Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore wrapping the third. Coming right back around there, what is that? Based Frank took Justin Fields, Christian Watson, Ramondre Stevenson, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Etienne, Terry McLaurin, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, and Kenneth Walker, wrapping up the fourth round. We are now in the fifth round, third pick of the fifth round. Steph, you were on the board there. You just took Joe Burrow and got your stack. That's Cincinnati. So you have now both wide receivers, the running back, and the quarterback in Cincinnati, along with Mark Andrews there with Baltimore. To me, you are dead set on week 17, the correlation being KC, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Miami. Rest of the draft, is that your thought press? What are we doing there?
Well, first I want to touch on, because I'm sure some people are going, whoa, she took Mixon. Well, I don't know if you know, but Mixon got his legal case actually finished up today, and he is
not guilty.
Innocent. Now, there still could be some civil fallout, possibly, or, you know, the league could still, I guess, do some sort of punitive punishment. But it looks like it's a lot less chance than it was. So I'm going to say, as we're talking about uniqueness, a lot of people might have backed off, and a lot of people probably also aren't stacking, you know, their running backs with the quarterbacks as often. And Mixon, you know, I mean, his efficiency sucks, but they've passed to him a lot. So, you know, if I'm going all in on this team, which I think is going to be one of the best teams, you know, scoring a ton of points, I don't hate it. There's been some research, you know, that mega stacks are still okay. You know, between Leone and also Sacrilegious did some work looking at how many guys you can stack up. I think Leone said, what was it, between 3 to 7, Justin? Does that sound
Yeah,
right?
and it depends on draft capital. But in general, that's your range. Yeah.
So I probably won't take any more Cincinnati guys. We'll see. I mean, you never know. But I will definitely look to correlate, you know, some of my other pieces and working mini stacks and things like that. So it's not the only thing I'm focused on, but it's definitely something I'm keeping tabs on.
Yeah, right. I don't know if you saw, if anyone here saw, but I think it was probably a week or so ago, I put out a tweet directly about that exact situation. I was on the clock in a slow draft in a 5-5-5. And it was Drake London or Joe Mixon were the two that I was kind of looking like. It was DK, so it's PPR, so a little different. And for that, it's only a 30-person final. So I felt a bit more better about doing it than a 441. Don't hate it. I think your logic is right that like we should probably see Joe Mixon move up the draft board. So it only should be more unique as we go forward. But yeah.
I'm very light on Mixon too, and I'm looking at my exposures as I draft. So, so there's some of my moves here might be to smooth things out as well at this point of the season.
I want to bring this up real quick, because Jeff is pointing out 1-1 is all over the board. He's really, over the last 3 rounds, he's really not. He's stuck to Seattle.
He just doesn't care about ADP.
Right.
He or she is just not caring about ADP. We saw it with Cooper Kupp, and now we're seeing it with DK, tiny reach. Kenneth Walker, maybe a 5-6 ADP reach. JSN, though, that's like a 15, maybe 12 pick reach. But it makes sense from there's a strategy behind it. It's just not tethered to ADP.
Okay. So then next question for you, Justin. Are there any injuries? We talked about Joe Mixon with the criminal stuff, the possibilities there, or now being basically let go on those charges. Are there injuries that you're keeping an eye on, and which ones are causing you to either fade a player or just leave them off your board altogether?
I don't think there's any injuries that I'm not drafting someone right now. If anyone has an idea of who that might be, maybe I could think of it, but not really fading anyone by injuries. If anything, I'm probably on the other way in that there's value in these guys later on. So I'm probably a little more on them. I don't know, Breece Hall's an example who, when Breece Hall was starting the year and he was going early third, I was not really on him because I was actually on Josh Jacobs. Who knows how that plays out for me. But as he actually started falling we started seeing him early fourth, I was drafting him because I thought hey, there's an opportunity here to lean into the injury aspect. Early on, I was not drafting any Javonte. That's one that I tried to correct a bit. And I think I've gotten up to 6 to 8%. So pretty decent correction there. But I was scared of that one. Not an injury, but Jameson Williams, I think I have 0% of.
He did have an injury.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Well, now.
My 0% wasn't because of an injury, but yeah, now he's got the hammy and out for the rest of the preseason. Yeah. I'm leaning into Jerome Ford. I'm taking a little of him. Sounds like
Really?
John Kelly just fumbled in his first game tonight.
Oh, that makes me happy. I had a lot of bags. I stopped taking him after the injury, but I'm real heavy. So, it's one of those I backed off of because.
Yeah, I've slowed down, but he's also fallen to almost the end of drafts now. And if, you need that kind of fill in for, yes, there's a chance they sign Leonard Fournette, hey, Kareem Hunt would actually fit there. But if they don't sign someone in the next 2 weeks or so, then I think there's a very good chance that Jerome Ford will go back into that role we expected when the season kind of kicks off. And okay, what are we doing here?
I'd love to hear your thought process with what 20 seconds up there. So
yeah, obviously would have liked for Zay Flowers to fall a little more for my Baltimore at 77. I really just need to be spending on wide receiver here, even though there aren't great options. So I'm going to grab some Elijah Moore. Just needed a wide receiver, and that was kind of, in my mind, best wide receiver on the board.
Stacy, you're on the clock right now.
I am on the clock right now.
You've got 2 of the next 4 picks.
Yes.
With your build, what are you thinking with these 2 picks?
So I went ahead and took Rashad White because I've got Chris Olave there. So a little New Orleans, Tampa Bay. I didn't mean to take Trevor Lawrence, even though I like him. He's just fine. I think I was having a little bit of an internet glitch and I came back on. It was 3 seconds left. And that is what happened. Worst things could happen though, but I'll try to make it work right here. And this is going to be a smidge early, but just to make a little bit of sense, I'm going to go ahead and take Evan Ingram as my tight end.
That 110 looks like a nice Zay Jones spot where it's a little reach, but you can get a player that fits with your build and I think is going to rise up as a more increased likelihood he plays in 2 wide receiver sets.
Absolutely.
So similarly, backing off of Christian Kirk?
I mean, hey, you're an ETR subscriber. If you've been using ETR ranks, we have been way ahead on Christian Kirk all year. We've slowly been adjusting a little, but still staying above ADP.
I'm just still high when I'm looking. I have noted in for tonight.
I'm just so bullish on the Jacksonville passing game. Yes, the report is from one preseason game that Christian Kirk was not playing in 2 wide receiver sets. 2 things there. One is it's one game. It is what it is. 2, they're most likely, the way that they're playing from an offensive standpoint is you're going to have 3 wide for majority of the time. So if his snap share goes from 96% down to 88, you don't love that. But for me, I still think he's enough of a good fit value. And I'm also a heavy proponent of drafting off contingency upside. And Ridley gets hurt. Zay Jones gets hurt. Evan Ingram gets hurt. All of those guys just tighter, concentrated around target tree, and that's a big major plus.
Stacey, give me that 5th round real quick. Let me read through these last 4 rounds real quick. We had the 5th round go Jackson Smith and then Jigba. We had Drake London, Joe Burrow, Breece Hall. We had Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, Justin Herbert, Marquise Brown, Christian Kirk, TJ Hawkinson, Alexander Madison, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, back-to-back. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. That's interesting. Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Lockett, Gabe Davis, Darren Waller, Jordan Addison, Damian Pierce, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, J.K. Dobbins, Michael Pittman, Cam Akers to round out the 6th. Coming back for the 7th, we had George Pickens, David Montgomery, Quentin Johnson, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, Dallas Goedert, Brandon Cooks, Miles Sanders, Elijah Moore, Javonte Williams, Rashad White, James Cook, DeAndre Swift, Evan Ingram, Deshaun Watson, Rashad Bateman, Alvin Kamara, Cortland Sutton, James Conner, Sky Moore, Michael Thomas, Treylon Burks, Khalil Herbert, and then A.J. Dillon to round out the 8th round. We are now into the 9th round. Leading it off, Geno Smith, Dalvin Cook, Isaiah Pacheco. There she goes, trying to get some of the KC correlation going right along with her Cincinnati stuff. She's already got every other Cincinnati player. May as well go ahead and get a Chiefs player. I like it, Steph. Good job right there.
Well, I wanted Sky Moore, but thanks, Fantasy Garage decided to take it from me there. And let's see. Then I was actually contemplating because Cook fell, and I don't think I have any Cook. And I have quite a bit of Breece.
Dalvin, sorry. Dalvin. Yeah.
Well, they're
probably got some James.
So not that I'm, against. I'll still take Breece. But when the opportunity presents, because I think he's going to rise, and so when he's falling below his ADP, might be a good time to scoop a couple shares to have. Because I do think he's going to have. How washed he is here or there. Some of the advanced metrics are not as favorable and are showing a decline, but it does seem like that Rodgers wanted him, or at least was willing to negotiate, change his salary around there a little bit to draft somebody, whether it was him or not, specific. I'm not 100% sure. And I don't know. They both are kind of recovering, so we'll see who's ready for the start of the season. But
do you all think Dalvin's ADP rises or falls over the next 2-3 weeks of BBM?
I think it rises from the sentiment I've gotten. Even some really sharp drafters have gotten spooked, whether it's the injury or the Rodgers thing on Breece. More so than I was expecting. Behind closed doors, at least. Maybe not everybody on the stream, if you're listening to a few guys are really bullish, but.
So I was unclear. So you think he gets drafted, his ADP, he gets drafted earlier or later?
Earlier.
I think I'm there. I think I'm there with that. Now that he's at a team, there's a contingency that think that Rodgers is what made this happen. I believe that there may be a little bit of Robert Saleh thought process is is Breece Hall completely back?
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
Take time.
Yep. I agree. I think he moves up a little. But like on, I don't know, on one or two of the streams I've been on, there was a lot of thought that like he actually starts falling. I kind of capitulated a little, and like it probably really matters in what happens with the shoulder when he gets back into practice. Like with Brees actually playing, I do see an argument that like maybe he actually falls. Like if we actually see one of them practicing, one not, like, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah. And I mean, how high can he go? Because I mean, there is like other players, when you're starting to look around, because I mean, we think there's going to be a rotation. So it's not like, and I think most people do agree that Brees is more talented. If they were both 100%, Brees would probably be the better back. It's just we don't know who's going to be 100% and when.
This draft was launched. I mean, Miles Sanders fell all the way to 80. That is quite the fall for an ADP of like what, 65.
You took my A-chain.
Yeah, I got the Baltimore stack going.
Well, I kind of do.
What do you got? What do you have?
Fantasy
I got Dobbins and
and you got the Andrew. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know.
Fantasy Garage thinks that Dalvin's going to stick to that 7-8 turn with the Watson drafters.
Get that New York Jet Cleveland. Yeah, I could see that.
So when it comes, speaking of stacking or correlation, what is some of the other wide receivers, quarterbacks that you are looking at, when it comes to these correlations or stacks there, Justin?
Like from which team stacks am I like drafting heavily, or
not from the obvious, like the Burrow, Higgins, the Burrow, they're just the non so obvious ones, I guess, is the ones you're getting the quarterback a little bit earlier, or you're taking a flyer on a receiver from that. Which ones are you looking at to
I'll throw Daniel Jones in there. I've been pretty overweight on him throughout the year. Early on in the offseason, I was going like just Waller and Daniel Jones heavily because I had confidence that was going to be a pairing, and there's just so much kind of ambiguity in the wide receiver core. As we've moved on, I think we're getting a little more clarity. The way that I'm playing it is that Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins are going to start and outside in 2 wide receiver sets. Paris Campbell's going to play from the slot. I do think Jalen Hyatt is too good of a talent compared to those in that team that he will find a way onto that field. And so where that does, that's what I've had the most kind of questions. We've seen him play on the outside. We've seen him play in the slot in college. Josh Norris, I asked him, he was saying that he thinks the best spot for Jalen Hyatt will be out of the slot because that allows him to get a little separation, get some clear, and then get deep. That makes sense to me, and that'd be obviously at the loss for Paris Campbell. And then I just think that when you think of the other outside, we may just see a couple swaps here and there, but for the most part, I think that's the 3 wide receiver set. And so I'll grab Daniel Jones, and then I'll kind of mix in maybe 1 or 2 others from the late wide receiver. And I'm making sure I'm doing this on builds where I didn't go crazy wide receiver heavy. Because if I went early wide receiver heavy, I don't really want Daniel Jones because I'm either going to go naked or maybe just with one pairing partner. I'd rather it hey, I went heavy on tight end and running back early on. I know that I need to hit on some late wide receivers and get some correlation on a weekly basis, especially for the playoffs. So let me do that with Daniel Jones, 2 pass catchers, hope that week 17, those are guys that can propel me. And then the rest of my elite running back tight end that I drafted early are complementary.
If I get psyched on a quarterback, Daniel Jones, it is. It's he could fit almost anything for me. It's he fills in because he's got so much late. And I've been playing it very similar to you with the Paris Campbell thing. Has been probably the guy I'm lowest on.
Agreed.
I love Slayton. I mean, you get him so late, and he started. I think he's one of the best late picks this year, kind of like Zay Jones was last year when, people that were, I think, sharp were taking him, guys with a defined role that can give you points in your roster.
Justin, Jason wants to know, do you think Lawrence can support and pay off draft capital for both Ridley and Kirk?
Yes. Ridley is very expensive right now. He's at the 2-3 turn. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up to even the 22-21 because from 21 to 28 is all very flat. But so it's worth at least keeping an eye on that. But I think like that offense has the potential for their pace of play. Trevor Lawrence getting that kind of third-year leap. We already saw the major leap in year 2. It can just be a very, even with 3 wide receivers, you can still have a very tight, highly concentrated team that, if efficient, like I think Evan Ingram is the one who is being substantially overdrafted. Sorry, I know you drafted Evan Ingram in this draft. We all do it. It made sense with the Trevor Lawrence, Stacey. But just in general, like I think that Evan Ingram, if anyone, is the one who's going to get left out. Across his career, he hasn't been a player that earns high targets. Even his season last year, obviously he had that one crazy spike week. He also had a good playoff week, even though that's kind of hard to find, but like that's worth considering. He still had, I think it was like 8 games with 4 or fewer targets. And so I think, unfortunately, he's the one that gets kind of left in the dust.
And read through these last, and by the time I get through them, there'll be 4 rounds. 9th round, we had Geno Smith, Dalvin Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Zach Charbonnet, Tua Tagovailoa, Kadarius Toney, Anthony Richardson, Odell Beckham, Jameson Williams, Samaje Perine, Antonio Gibson, Dak Prescott, Jamal Williams, Kirk Cousins, Devon Achane, Daniel Jones, Pat Freiermuth, Romeo Dobbs, Rashad Penny, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyler Boyd, David Njoku, Tank Bigsby. Through the 10th, starting the 11th, we went Zay Jones, Alan Lazard, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, Dalton Kincaid, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Warren, Jerick McKinnon, Damian Harris, Jacoby Myers, Greg Dolch, or Dolch. I don't know how you pronounce the last name there.
Dulcich.
Dulcich.
Greg Dole won't be catching passes.
Who won't be playing.
Did you not see the hair flip though?
If I had to crap on one of Stacey's tight ends, I needed to at least go with the second one too, and just stay consistent.
Exactly. Just take it. Well, you stole Damian Harris for me. Damian Harris was going to be my pick.
Ooh, yeah.
And then he went, and I don't know if you saw me in the chat, but I was like,
Hey.
right when he took him, I was like, damn it.
That was an ugly part of the draft. I made a not great QB pick either.
Oh, somebody took Marvin from you.
Yeah. Who I would? Thanks.
It wasn't me.
Candyman.
I know. I thought I had it.
Listen, I don't want any more of the Denver offense. Okay, like I'm pushing my luck with as many as I have right now.
I was gonna do a comeback and then try to pull in Russell because I had QJ. So I was going to just do that for my second quarterback stack. Thought I could pull that off, that pairing, because I was like, well, Stacey took Dulcich and she won't have a pick before me, so I can probably get Mims and Russ.
I know, and now I've got to take 2 or 3 tight ends since I grabbed 2 at the same bye week, but that was on purpose anyway. I was going to do that. That's fine.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I could just, week 9, who cares, right?
To be fair, if you grab a late tight end, they're only going to be projected for around 4 to 6 points. So most likely you're only giving up around that 4 to 6 from a tight end. QBs, I'm always making sure I don't have that same or grabbing a third. But I was looking at grabbing Russ in that pick 136. It would have been the bring back to the Keenan Allen. But I was like, there's no way Marvin Mims falls back to me. And there's no real other late Denver guys to kind of get a stack.
No. Team 1, just taking my Jacksonville guys, getting I had Everett on my list as maybe one to look at later. I had Mingo on there to go with my my Jacksonville group, but that team 1. They're just causing all sorts of chaos tonight.
Yeah, Jeff liked this team 12 where he had the DJ Moore field stack, and then he turns right around and adds Mooney to it at 132 there in the 11th. What do you think about
Cole Kmet the next pick?
And yeah, correct. So he's hard. He's really hard onto the Bears there. What do you think about that with the Atlanta? I mean, Atlanta defense should be at least halfway competent, right? And that's a week 17 correlation, with Atlanta and Chicago there. Thoughts on that, Stacey?
I mean, I mean, I guess Atlanta should be halfway competent, right? I mean, yeah, I don't, Gator, you're gonna have to. I was looking to see who I was gonna pick, so you're gonna have to ask me that one more time because I was very distracted right there. So
he's got Fields, he's got DJ Moore, he's got Mooney, and he's got Komet. Not quite sure what else, if he's got anything else correlated with the with that game in Atlanta. Doesn't look like it with Antonio Gibson, Dak, Swift, Cook, Mike Evans, Godwin.
wow.
So it
double
doesn't look
the
like
Bucks there. Okay.
doesn't look like he does. So he's got the stack with CeeDee Lamb and Dak, but no correlation in that particular game in the week 17. Thoughts on and I know you're on the clock now, so in dragging this question out, I want to know what the thoughts are, and I'll go to Justin first. Then, thoughts on having this many Bears and not having any Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was hoping for a Tyler Algier. He can maybe go Cordell Patterson at the very end, Matt Collins for his last one. There's always options there. The other is, I mean, you're still making an overall bet across like Chicago. And I think like Chicago's a decent team where if you're going to draft Justin Fields, it's okay to stack a lot of that team because you're really making a bet that this is just going to be like even a below average, not like below average, but just a below average passing team. And so if you have an increase in overall volume, it's very easy for all those plays to be values. And so that's one where, and I kind of think of it similarly with the Colts. I think it's similar with the Giants, where if you make a bet that your QB is actually going to be throwing more, then everyone else kind of rises together. I am on the clock.
Well, I'll take it from here because he turns around and gets Devin Singletary from Houston and then Jake Ferguson. So now he's got the triple stack in Dallas as well, which is
I was going to take Ferguson, so he was smart to do that.
Well, here's my question then, and I'll send it to you, knowing you're a Dallas fan. I mean, that's what is that? That's going to be a Saturday game with Detroit. So he's hammering the Bears and Dallas here, and he's played in a few of these. You can tell just by having the badge. So he does these a good bit. It's interesting to me though. Is it to you, Steph?
The team. Well, I was too hooked on giving some Jake Ferguson hype. So I was already happy on Jake Ferguson. I mean the Bears stuff, yeah, I have no idea what you were asking besides Jake Ferguson and me being a Dallas fan. Sorry.
And Jason jumps in.
My stack situation. But I was going to say, Ferguson has a really big, touchdown upside. The way they've used him, Dallas, and I was listening to Pat Kerrane on one of his podcasts. He was talking about how most of the tight ends touchdowns come out of play action. And Jake Ferguson had a 26% play action participation route last season on a part-time role. Now that he's going to be our feature back and he can pass block or run block, so they will have him out there a lot of times on those play actions, and they use it a lot in the red zone. They used it. The only person that had more play action routes run last year was Travis Kelce. So we like touchdowns on underdog, and where he's going right now, I am pumped. And he's definitely our tight end one. And I am going to do something and pray that it works out for me.
Well, I don't mean to be rude to you or your Dallas fandom, but my question, yes, we love touchdowns as both best ball and fantasy owners, but I'm still wondering at this point, does Dallas like touchdowns? Because I mean, as
they
Mike,
don't like points.
Wait. As Mike McCarthy likes to say, they score too much. And I don't think he likes scoring touchdowns. I think he'd rather score field goals.
He clarified that. He said they only scored too much the year before. Last year they scored enough. Like that was the perfect number. But when they were the highest scoring offense, that's when there was the problem. So.
That's fair. Fantasy,
Yeah,
right.
you know what? I'm not a Mike fan. I am a Cowboys fan, but not a Mike fan. And
Komet is wide receiver 2 in Chicago, Jeff says. So I don't know about that.
I heard that today too, though. Gosh, who was I listening to today? I was just listening to something right before we came on, and that came up as well as Komet being the number 2. Paying him all that money. Obviously he was the one last year. I mean, he was the number 1 target. But it is being mentioned. It's going around. So Jeff's not the only one who thinks that.
Maybe Jeff heard what you guys heard as well, but I am not buying into tight ends when they get major contracts. Teams value lots of skill sets from tight ends, their ability to block. And Cole Kmet has not shown that he's ever that he's been the wide receiver 2. I think Darnell Mooney is actually still a good player if he can hopefully stay healthy. And the problem last year was he's not an alpha. He's not shouldn't be the number 1 wide receiver on your team. That's not his role. But you put him with someone like DJ Moore and then put Darnell Mooney as a complementary piece. I like that. And so I've been drafting a decent amount of Darnell Mooney. I think he's in a spot in the drafts too where like right after him, it feels like a big teardrop.
Let's see.
Where you at, Steph?
I agree.
So I'm gonna
don't do something. I don't know.
Well, he's in my queue, Steph. He's in my queue, and I absolutely could. But I won't because I need what I'm about to do to make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna grab me some over there.
No,
that's the one that I thought you were.
That was. Oh my!
That's who you wanted?
Because I thought Reed was still around when I took Love also. And then I was like, crap! It's only Musgrave.
Girl.
If it helps, I was gonna draft him.
Stacey, I knew you were because I saw you at 9, and then I was like,
yeah.
She snipes me on tight end, Justin, every week, by the way. It's usually Laporta,
Bobby. Stacey has a brand new fan. Jeff is loving some Stacey right now with that.
Jeff, if I'm your new fave, you got to spell my name right, babe. It's Stacy. All right, no E in there. We spell it the right way over here.
Jeff loving seeing some takedown being drafted tonight. Or I'm sorry, the other Jeff with a G, Jeffery.
So I'm SOL. Thanks, guys. I am now, because my problem is everybody I had for my late stacks has the same freaking bye week as my quarterback, because apparently everybody has week 7 buys.
There you go, Stacey. He's got your spelling. He's got your
Yes.
Oh, we got the big boss man is in the house. Jorge is in the house. Hope you are feeling well, getting some rest, sir. You have a road that we will be here paving for you when you get back. A smooth comeback for you. Let's get through these this round right here. These next 4 rounds. Round 13, we had Jonathan Mingo, Russell Wilson. Make sure I'm going the right way. Yes. Jonathan Mingo, Russell Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Elijah Mitchell, Kenneth Gainwell, MVS, Tyler Algier, Alec Pierce, Roshan Johnson, Rondell Moore, Jaden Reed, Devin Singletary, Jake Ferguson, KJ Osborne, Chig Okonkwo, Donovan People-Jones, Zamir White, Kenny Pickett, Ezekiel Elliott, Brock Purdy, Deontay Foreman, not Devontae, Deontay Foreman, Curtis Samuel, Isaiah Hodgins, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hyatt. Like that pick. God, I think he's going to be a great player this year in that Giants offense. Kareem Hunt, Jordan Love, Taysom Hill, Tajay Spears, Irv Smith, Dawson Knox, John Mechie, Jawan Johnson, Kyler Murray, Tank Dell, Jeff Wilson to round out the 15th, 16th round runs like this. Rashid Rice, Luke Musgrave, Kendre Miller, Tyler Conklin, Paris Campbell, Hunter Renfro sighting, McKeel Hardman, Devontae Parker, Justin Ross sighting, Richie James, Khalil Shakir, Chuba Hubbard, and we are now entering the 17th round. We have 17th and 18th round left to go. Stacey, please interject one of these questions that we have that I know you are dying to ask Justin.
All right. So let's see. Oh, yeah. So here's one that I was kind of thinking about. Is there a particular stack or like a correlation that you have found is more difficult to make happen during these drafts? Maybe one that you kind of wanted to do, but just like either because of the cost or because of where people are grabbing them up so early or even later, that it's just been a little bit more difficult to do. There's a couple that I can think of, but I just kind of wanted to see if everybody else felt that way.
One that jumps out to me right now are the Bills. It's and how I adjust to that is where I'm willing to draft Josh Allen. I have Josh Allen as my number 2 QB right behind Jalen Hurts, but I think like there's a lot of times there's good arguments to draft him at 24. But when I could draft him at 24 before, I could often get Gabe Davis to fall back, and you could get Gabe Davis at like that's pick 72. The challenge is Gabe Davis is now moved up to ADP of like 65 or something, and you're almost never having a chance at getting him in that area. And then you look at Kincaid, you get pick 120, but like Kincaid goes 115. So you're really trying to reach in those. As I talk, I want to see, do I want to grab? Yeah, let's go Hunter Henry. I don't think I have much Carolina. I haven't. We'll go Hunter Henry. And so like earlier in the like when we were drafting, I go Josh Allen there, and now I know I can grab both Gabe Davis and Kincaid, and then maybe even Knox, and like feel really good about it. Now I'm not drafting him at 24 because it's so hard that for those guys to fall. But if I can get him at pick like, I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th in the 3rd, you increase your chances of getting that Gabe Davis slide. You're then right in the middle and actually taking him like 2 or 3 picks above ADP for Kincaid. And so it's just like that difference of 4 or 5 picks is a huge difference in whether or not it's an easy or a hard team to stack.
So I have a question for you. Since I hear you mentioning Kincaid, but I noticed you're not mentioning Knox in your Bills discussion here. So are you out on Knox, or how are you seeing the tight end situation play out in Buffalo?
I have 26% Dawson Knox. He is my most owned player. And I don't know if I love it. I really don't know. Like, it just feels so right. I feel like he's always going to be on the field. I'm trying to decide what I want to do with this last one.
Is he going to be in the 11 personnel?
Yeah, I mean, so they're doing this like, they're doing this kind of like 1.5 tight end kind of situation where you bring Kincaid, you bring Dawson Knox in. I think like, you've got one in the end, and then ideally they're going to say, hey, if you're going to kind of put a linebacker on Kincaid, then fine, and we're going to move him out, and now you got a mismatch. The rest of the time, like, I think in general, though, like Dawson Knox is still the tight end. Like Kincaid really isn't playing tight end there. So if you are bullish on Kincaid, you can still be bullish on Dawson Knox. And so I'm not actually that bullish on Kincaid. I'm rarely taking him unless I have Josh Allen with him. But I'm taking Knox so much. And like, I don't know. I'm a late tight end guy heavily this year, other than maybe if I get like Andrews or Hawkinson. And that means, unfortunately, I've missed out on some of the Jake Ferguson. I got some. I have some Luke Musgrave, but like I missed out on a couple of these guys that because I've got so much of Hayden Hurst and Dawson Knox, because a month ago I knew what their role was going to be. It's the same thing we see now. With Ferguson, we didn't know what Schoonmaker was going to be. With Musgrave, like he's also not the only rookie tight end there. It worked out well for them, and I'm still trying to grab more of them now. Like as we talked about, I tried to go Musgrave here. I know we all did. Stacy got him. Hey, if I, this is actually payback because Stacy went Ingram and I poo-pooed that, and then Dulcich and I poo-pooed that, and she's like, okay, well I'll go Musgrave, and I'm like, great pick.
Arguments there.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to point out over in the chat over here, we've got, I'm so glad that Nick Constantino was hanging around because we actually just had the same conversation Friday night at the Fantasy Football Expo about Knox and Kincaid, part of the Go Bills contingent over here. And, you can still like Kincaid and like Knox. You don't have to pick one or the other. And I think, and I think this is kind of where everybody's kind of settling, but like Knox is such a good, yes, Knox is such a good value for where he's going. He's being pushed so far down. And he is like their red zone target. I just don't get it. I think you can still like both. I think they're both still going to have some value. But if I can grab Dawson Knox in like the 17th round or something crazy like that, I'm doing it every time.
I'm going to throw one more thing on there too. And this was a big talking point for me on tight ends last year. But if you look like 2 years ago, 3 of the top 6 tight ends were late round draft picks. And for that year, it ended up being, it was Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, and Rob Gronkowski. Mm-hmm. And the commonality there was all 3 were attached to high-powered passing offenses. Gronk was with Brady, Schultz was with Dak, and Knox was with Buffalo. And what just happened is the offenses were great, passing heavily as we expected, and these tight ends found themselves into major roles. That is a continued trend year over year of even Evan Ingram last year. Like, yes, he was very spiky, but it's because he increased a role on an offense that we already, is very high-powered, high-passing. Dawson Knox fits that bill perfectly. And whether or not, like, it happens immediately, whether or not you need an injury, whether or not it's just a, matchup-based thing, we know being attached to Josh Allen is a very good thing, especially when you're going to be on the field. So I'm still doing it. I'm trying to decrease my exposure a little. I don't like being above 25%, but I don't get it.
Who's your highest besides so other than Knox, who's your highest exposure?
So Hayden Hurst and Dawson Knox are both at 26% for me.
Hang on 1 second, Justin, because there's plenty of questions I want to get to if we have time. Or if you have the time, I should say. Let me read through these last 2 rounds real quick, and then we can get this board off of here and actually have a great conversation, because I know props to the chat for tonight for just showing up and just lots of questions, lots of comments. Last 2 rounds go like this. Round 17 started off with Bryce Young, Deuce Vaughn, Ty Chandler, Robert Woods, Michael Wilson, which I absolutely love this dude. He could absolutely be wide receiver 1 in Arizona. CEH, Jerome Ford, which we had a conversation about. Justin's really getting on this Jerome Ford train. Joshua Kelly, Hunter Henry, Josh Palmer, Sean Tucker, Baker Mayfield, Kyron Williams, Malik Davis, Devin Duvernay, Darius Slayton, Travion Williams, Allen Robinson, Cordell Patterson, Latavius Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Hayden Hurst, Quez Watkins. Stacy, who was 216 Mr. Irrelevant for this draft?
That's a great question. You're going to have to give me 1 second.
What are you
saying? We need to circle back because I need to have a conversation with you, Miss Stacy, about your Dallas backup running backs and who is not on the roster.
I should have taken Rico Dowdle. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I like Deuce, but yes, Rico is actually going to make the 53. It sounds like
he might be the number 2. Noah Fant was Mr. Irrelevant.
I do appreciate this comment right here. This is probably the best comment. Send that. I need you to put that on Twitter, and I'll make a nice little font with it, and I'll put Justin's face and my face and Stacy's face and Steph's face, and we'll put it all on Twitter with this comment dead center. You good with that, Justin? Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
I like it a lot, as long as you'll also do my voicemail when we're done.
Oh, well, then it's free of charge for you tonight, sir. Few of the questions we had in the chat tonight. Michael Wilson, I brought him up just a minute ago.
Do you want the board still up here or no?
No, you could take Noah Fant was the final pick of the 18th round for the draft tonight. Michael Wilson is who you want in the 17th round. He could be the number 1 or number 2, I'm guessing is what that's supposed to be in Arizona by the end of this season. Do you feel that comment is correct, Justin?
Get rid of the number 1 part. I do believe he's going to be the number 2. The challenge with Michael Wilson. So the positives are he's running in the 2 wide receiver sets. I think if not right away, he's very quickly going to be in 2 wide receiver sets. He hasn't been being drafted in the majority of BBM. So we're 65% of the way through or something. And so now you're getting a rather unique player that's not going to be high owned. Love that. The downside. Oh, one more positive. Kyler Murray, that offense, if it's clicking, it'll be in the playoffs. That's when you really want him. Now you've got a unique player attached to Kyler Murray. Like, that's a pretty good situation overall. The challenge is, I think he's going to be a horrible advance rate player. I mean, that, like, Cardinals, it is ugly. It is ugly. I don't think they can support 2 wide receivers, let alone maybe even 1. They have a win total of 4.5 games. That's 2 fewer games than any other team out there. Like, I mean, what was he, a 6th round rookie, Clayton Tune? Like it, and then the other one, Colt McCoy, he's moonlighting for underdog fantasy.
Underdog.
It is tough in Arizona, and it might just be a dumpster fire. And so even if he is in the field, I'm skeptical on what that value is. All that said, I don't mind him as a draft pick because I think the first things outweigh the uniqueness, the Kyler angle. If you are drafting Kyler, grab Michael Wilson 100%.
Okay, well, quick question then. Just a rebuttal question on that is the correlation for week 17 is Philly.
Right.
Assuming that Philly is sitting their players, then okay, fine, I get it. But that's a pretty daunting defense to go up against in what you would hope would be the week you need him the most, right?
Yeah, they're 11-point favorites right now. It's actually the largest spread of the entire season. If you look at every game, it's that game in week 17. I don't quite get it because I still think that Kyler is going to come back and he's going to play, and like that spread doesn't make sense when you have Kyler, but it really feels like Vegas at this point is just like not baking in the Kyler aspect. What does that game look like? The other thing is like Arizona's defense is not good either. So Eagles could very easily just 60-yard plays, 80-yard plays, and just continue to score very quickly, which just gives Arizona more chances with the ball, more times to throw. So like ETR has been very high on Marquise Brown because even if you look at like when they had Colt McCoy, Marquise Brown was still pretty solid. When they had Kyler, he was like a top 5 wide receiver. He's the guy that I want, and he's cheap enough that like it's worth going out and getting him, especially if you're going to plan on getting the Kyler back stack later on. But again, I'd rather have Michael Wilson in the 18th than Rondale Moore at 130, given the way situations are playing out.
So here's my question, because the other player you guys were very, very ahead of market on most of the year was Rondale Moore, who's not looking so hot right now. So how heavy are those Rondale Moore bags you are holding?
I'm probably fortunate. I'll check right now, but I just don't draft wide receiver in that range that often because usually that's like where I like running backs. Checking right now. Rondale, I am at okay, more than I expected, 17%.
And what are your thoughts about Ertz coming back? Because I know another, we're all liking as a late round tight end, our rookie,
Trent McBride.
Yeah. But now with, Ertz coming back, do you think they're actually going to run two tight end sets? Or
I do because I think they want to run the ball. And no, that's not really, I think they'll both be on the field
together.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking like my Rondale Moore bags and my Marquise, because Marquise Brown's my 3rd highest owned wide receiver at 19%. It's definitely playoff plays. Like, I think they're going to have some trouble early on, but just hopes that like Kyler comes back a little sooner. It feels like every other player is coming back soon from injuries. Why not Kyler as well? And hoping that we're just getting like some discounts on it, but maybe those are bags that I'm just going to have to carry home. Yeah.
Are you taking a lot of Kyler yourself or?
Not so much. Probably pretty low there. I am 5%. So.
5% on Kyler. All right, if you're bullish on Kincaid, as you stated a minute ago, even with the possibilities of them running 2 tight ends, we knowing that Kincaid is going to basically run that slot, should you be bullish on Laporta and Musgrave at the tight end position? These 2 rookies are more of the inline style of tight end, in my opinion, than Kincaid is. Even though, in the preseason, Laporta has looked good. Musgrave looks like he's going to get a lot of usage. What's your thoughts on these 2 tight ends being Laporta and Musgrave along with Kincaid, which you've already stated how much you love Kincaid?
Well, no, I love Dawson Knox. Kincaid, I'm only really drafting when I have Josh Allen. I'm at 7% Dalton Kincaid.
Okay.
Dawson Knox is the one that I'm very overweight.
For BB winner.
For the Laporta and the Musgrave, I mean, they're being drafted at very different spots. Laporta, like, I like what he got and stuff, but he's being drafted in a spot of the draft where I just don't want to take tight ends because I can grab the Hunter Henry, the Hayden Hurst, the Musgrave, the Ferguson later on in draft. So that's why I've been really minimal on Laporta. I'm at 8%, and I would guess about 5 to 6% of that is correlated with a Jared Goff. This draft that we just did, my kind of Hail Mary second stack besides Baltimore was trying to get Detroit, Jared Goff, because I got some value on him and hoping Laporta fell. He didn't, and I kind of just ended up with a naked Jared Goff, but like, I don't know. It is what it is. I got Lamar. But yeah, it's just Laporta. He's expensive. He's his ADP all summer has been like 150, and now it's even higher.
It's because of that offense, right? It's because of the offense and because of the style of offense that Dan Campbell and that they want to run there.
Yeah, I mean, but like Hawkinson wasn't that great there. It took him a while, and obviously, like Dan Campbell's kind of put a different touch on it. I think it also just comes down to like, as we're low on Jameson Williams, as there's no other really number 2 wide receiver there, the expectation is that, well, Laporta has to do it. Like, they need Laporta. Someone needs to catch it. Maybe that's true. I also think they may be like a more run-heavy team than we're expecting with the usage of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
I think this is a direct shot at you.
I mean, I'm not even happy about it myself.
Dude, Jared Goff looks like Ryan Gosling, so I don't think that is actually accurate. Okay,
but here, I was going to say, I don't think I've ever had a team, at least honestly, I don't think I've ever ended up with a completely, except for like when I purposefully try to take like a runner and stack it maybe with somebody else, naked quarterback. But now I don't feel quite as bad that I got no correlation. Well, I got my week 17 bring back with Love, but seeing you have a naked Goff makes me feel a little bit better. So my team is not completely dead.
I'm more okay with it when there's such a gap between like my first QB and the next one. Because I'm really counting on Lamar and those Lamar stacks. This is the second time that I've ever drafted Odell Beckham like this summer. I was looking at it because I missed out on Flowers. I got Bateman. I grabbed Beckham. I needed a wide receiver. So like, I'm heavily on Lamar here. Goff is really like, I was hoping to get a little stack. I got some value there. If the worse your first QB is, the more important that your second QB, your third QBs are stacked. If your first QB, you've got all your eggs in that one, then like it's not as bad in my mind to kind of miss out on that second QB stack.
Justin, real quick, do you have another? I know you're doing pods and pods and pods. Do you have another one to do here shortly?
I'm done for the night. I have a wife that I need to spend some time with, but that's
all right. So I want to get you out of here, but I want to get you out of here with one more question.
Okay.
Because BBM is available for, drafting for so many months, are there any trends that you have noticed from the time it started till now?
Couple trends. One, third round running backs. If you were drafting third round running backs, which I'm sure you could go out and quote me because I said it many times, like, oh my God, I love the third round for running backs because the wide receivers were really ugly. It was basically that or like Lamar or Mark Andrews. And the challenge there is that if you were drafting Josh Jacobs, question mark, that's me. If you were drafting Breece Hall, not looking great. If you were drafting Ramondre, not looking great. If you were drafting Najee or Etienne, I guess it's fine, but like I didn't like it to begin with. So that's an ugly spot that like it's going to be I think when we look back on this year, that third round, how you handled it is going to be a major indicator for what your advanced rate and success is. The second one I will go with is late tight end strategy has really obviously we haven't played a game yet, but it looks like the correct play because we're seeing the most movement of any kind of position right now is on those late tight ends. Laporta keeps moving up. Kincaid keeps moving up. Those were in the middle ones. But then beyond that, if you go to the very end, Ferguson, Musgrave, Hurst, Henry, all look like great picks. And I think like if I could, like, that's where I'm happy that I went late tight end. I'm not sure if I'm happy that I went so heavily on just Hurst and Knox, but we'll see how that plays out.
Mine is Henry and Knox.
I've got a lot of Henry too. I mean, Henry is 13%. Yeah.
Stacey.
Yes, sir.
What you got for Justin?
What do I have for Justin? All right. Well, okay. So here's one of the things that I wanted to ask you real quick is that, obviously you won Ball Mania 1, right? So how has the contest changed, or how have you seen it change, from then up until now?
Yeah, I mean, so when I started doing content for ETR, doing streams, putting out articles, just kind of talking some strategy, the most common question that I got early on was like, why are you doing this? And some people kind of did it in a bit skeptical of like, are you actually being authentic? Like, why would you give us the secrets and all of that? Some people just really curious, like, hey, what's your motivation? And for me personally, and this is like literally when I first talked to Levitan and the rest of that group around this, was like, I love this game and I want this game to grow. And I think that if I can do anything just to help the growth of this game, then like it is a net benefit for me personally, but for the entire industry. And so I was willing to, hey, go out there, do as much as I can, put my face out there, talk to the strategy, give as much as I can. And like, I think that me combined with a lot of other people who also did it. And it's not like, I think it's because so many people are just passionate about it. Leone's done amazing stuff with data. So many streamers have started like creating just great content, including you all. And I mean, I think, Stephanie, you were in BBM1. Like went from the drafting to you love this and you want it, from my understanding, just share this, share your passion, share your joy for this. Mm-hmm. And so to kind of get back to what you were saying, like, I think the greatest thing has been is like, this has been like a community driven growth of this game. And I think I play the smallest, tiniest part in it. But I think like this isn't because DraftKings decided they wanted this to be big. I think Underdog obviously plays a huge, huge role, but I don't think Underdog even grows this much without so many of the content creators. And to be honest, this was a major part of their strategy, why they brought in Josh Norris and Hayden Winks to kind of build their own content around it. But like, this game has grown so much because of these types of streams, how engaging it is to do a draft live with people in chat and all that. So I've loved it. I think it's amazing. I hope the game continues to grow. I think there are some challenges ahead around bots, around collusion, things that are very important for the sites to kind of come up with proactive solutions to. And then the third is I really want to make sure, and this is what I kind of talked about with the company that we have, is like make sure that there continues to be innovation in this space, because we've seen it time and time again where companies focus on fantasy sports, but then they move on to the sports betting, to the iGaming, to the iCasino side of things. And so we've got smaller companies like Drafters. We've got DraftKings investing more in this game. We've obviously have Underdog and FFPC and others, but like I want there to continue to be this focus, this innovation. And I think it's up to all of us to kind of like, hey, continue to voice our concerns, our passions, our energy, whatever it is, to get these companies to continue kind of build for us.
Well, if you guys are not already impressed, if you're not already following Justin, go follow him right now.
I appreciate it.
Justin, you get about 4, because that's all I can promise is maybe 4. No, go follow Justin right now. Stacey, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
There you go. No, I was just going to say, Justin, thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know you've had a lot going on lately, especially today. You've been a real busy man. But thank you for hanging out with us and drafting and everything. And thank you to everybody who's in the chat hanging out and just commenting, guys. This has just been such a fun show to do with everybody, all that interaction. Guys, make sure that you have gone over and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Guys, make sure you, again, are following Justin. You can follow Steph at StephMiller57. Gator is at FantasyJ77. I'm at Stacy_Perez83. Guys, we will be back another day, and we will see you later. Have a good night.